how's it going, everybody? Gabriel, Santiago here. This is the Speaking of Harmony podcast, and this is episode 25. Well, first of all, thank you so much for everybody who came down to the live stream I did yesterday. I'm going to link the video here so you can watch if you haven't so far. And I'm going to be doing these things weekly, as I said before. And thank you so much for being part of it and interacting and sending questions. Right? Don't hesitate to ask me anything. Leave in the comments in these episodes. And it's a pleasure to be interacting with you guys. I've been featuring a lot of episodes with questions that you posed in the comments. So it gives me a nice chance to kind of look into things you guys are interested in, and so we can talk about it, right? Before we go into the subject of today's, for the sound, can I have an idea what it is? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, activate the little bell thing, notifications, and this is all my social media stuff. Give it a thumbs up in the video if you can, it helps a lot. And don't forget to sign up for the mailing list. The link is here in the video description. All right, the subject of today is fourth, right? This quartal kind of language, right? Some people have been asking me in comments to talk a little bit about that, because it's something that we hear a lot, especially in jazz language, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that, right? I think it's important to distinguish a few things from that might cause some confusions, right? We have a quartal harmony, right? It's one thing, and then we have quartal voicings, right? I'd like to separate both those because they are different kind of outlooks into a similar subject, right? So when I talk about quartal harmony, I'm talking about organizing the musical layers, right, in such a way that I'm not tied to a tertian harmony anymore, right? Meaning, for those who don't know that yet, we used to organize things in stacked thirds, the harmony that we play, right? You have C, E, G, so all thirds, intervals of thirds, right? That's kind of how our harmony revolves around, just pairing thirds and creating these chords, right? So we talk about quartal harmony, it's kind of reorganizing that, but now in intervals of fourth, right? So instead of having something like this, right, we have something like this, paired fourth, right, stacked fourth intervals, right? That's what quartal harmony, and then dealing with the composition with that, right? It's a different language, and since the early 20th century, composers use that a lot, and there are a great amount of pieces that are wonderful using this language. I'll leave one here described on the comments, on the description of the video. It's a tune that I really, really like, a piece by the great German composer Paul Hindemith, right? This is from a cycle of 6 short songs for choir. It just called 6 chansons, right? I'm bad with French, right? But the song that I'm featuring, the piece, is the number 2, which is, I think in French is uncygne. I don't know French that much, but it means a swan, right? That's what this piece, this movement sort of is about. I'm gonna link that here in the comments. It's a beautiful piece, and it's mostly quartal harmony, right? Stuff like, it's all kind of built into this beautiful quartal harmony, right? That's that. I hope you like, because I really like this piece, and for choir. That's Paul Hindemith. That's quartal harmony, right? But what we're talking about here today that most people really kind of attracted to is what I call the quartal voicings, right? What is that? Well, quartal voicings, I would say, is just taking that concept of stacked fourth and using fourth chords, but within a tonal context, right? Like a diatonic kind of tertian kind of universe, right? But instead of voicing the chords as triads, like we do, right? We use fourth intervals, but we keep the same kind of we kind of like working on the same universe, like regular diatonic harmony, or sometimes no diatonic as well, but we're not using quartal harmony where melodies in fourth and stuff like that, right? So what you can do, that's the separation that I like to make, right? And in jazz, is really used, it's been for many decades already. A bunch of great musicians have messed around with that, and it's kind of like part of like a language now when you play improvise and stuff like that, especially pianists, you kind of use that on your left hand to give a nice little twist in the comping of the chords. So instead of being comping like a normal diatonic kind of, harmony, you introduce this fourth kind of sounds, right? That work really well. So one guy that really kind of made it really famous is great pianist McCoy Tyner, who unfortunately passed away not long ago. And he was like a master of doing this kind of stuff, right? I have here a link that you can see like a performance of him playing with Joe Coltrane, the great Joe Coltrane, playing his tone impressions and Coltrane's impression, and he's playing his solos, and you can see in his left hand the whole quartal kind of voicings that he's doing, along with a lot of pentatonics on his song, which is also a trademark of his, right? But just in a practical sense here, when you talk about introducing quartal voicings into like, your diatonic kind of harmony, what you do is, let's put C, as our scale or mode, whatever, right? So if I'm in C major and I want to do a quartal voicing, you'll be like this: C, F, and then F, B, right? So if I keep doing this, the whole scale will sound like this, right? 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 That's the sound of me harmonizing C major using fourth intervals, right? If I take, instead of C on the bottom, if I put C on the top, it sounds really cool too, which is what most people use. So it'll be something like this, right? Using one string, so you can do, right? So I can use that and apply this kind of voicings to any kind of tonal context or diatonic harmony, whatever. So I can use that in C. Let's say if I'm in C, right? If I'm playing in C major, I can voice things something like this, like how it sounds, very particular. I'm in C, right? But if I'm in C major, I can go to, let's say, like F major, same language. Like in G, like it gets a nice like sus4 kind of sound. See, so I can kind of go around the key of C major and use all these degrees and put those voicings there, because it's all part of C major, right? And of course D minor, which is the most famous one, to like a second degree minor chord, which gives you that nice kind of like Dorian kind of sound that this famous like McCoy Tyner. Right? So that's a cool way to harmonize things using these voicings. It just kind of gets a nice color, right, from what you used to do. I'm like doing that thing with the audio, because I have a little thing here to play with at the end, and I don't want to screw that up. So another thing that we can do with that kind of expanding upon that fourth kind of voicing is that there's another, like an extra voicing that was introduced long ago, which became famous, that people even call the name of the tune in the Miles Davis famous recording and his song So What, right? Bill Evans played the song and introduced his nice voicings, what became known as the famous So What chords, right? Which basically is just the fourth intervals kind of voicing, but with a third on top. Well, because the song So What is, See? Fourth with the third on top. Third on top. See? That's what became known as so what chords, right? So it's just playing the voicings of fourth with a third on top. With that, you can kind of go chromatic and right? So McCoy Tyner used this a lot, and all these pianists, and kind of like it's like a lineage of great musicians that play this kind of language. In the McCoy Tyner kind of path, you have him, and then you have Kenny Kirkland, the great the late Kenny Kirkland, and Joe Calderazzo is also a great example of how to use these voicings, right? And this is it. This is like the fourth voicings, as you call it, just introducing this type of comping where you're grouping chords in fourth instead of in thirds, but it's still kind of within the tonal right, a tonal system in a way, just dealing with harmony as you would in tertian harmony, right? You're not really doing like quartal harmony where these functions don't exist anymore and there's like a totally different universe, right? You can bring some of that sound into this universe, and that's what these guys do, right? So I'm gonna play a little bit here to just like a drum track, so I can play some jazzy lines, whatever. So I'll be trying to comp here using this, so a D minor-ish kind of sound using this stuff, Dorian type of sounds, and then I'm gonna use the fourth voicings, and then doing the so what chords too with the third, and then soloing using a lot of like pentatonics, something that McCoy Tyner used to do a lot, right? So that's kind of what this is, and I hope you like what you hear. And before I go, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, activate the little bell thing notification. This is all my social media stuff, and don't forget to sign up for the mail list, and I see you in the next one. Let's figure out this drum track here so I can play together with it. There we go. Should start right away. One, two, 1, 2, 3, 5. See the fourth voicing.